1. Establishing shot. This locates us in context. Where are we? The subject is small, usually no larger than 1/3 of the size of the frame, top to bottom on the lower third portion. 2. Wide or full shot. All of main person is seen in frame, from feet to just above the hairline, and shows some location context. 3. Medium shot. Slightly above a person's head down to their waist or slightly higher. 4. Close-up. Slightly above a person's head down to shoulders. 5. Extreme close-up. An eye or eyes, an ear, the nose, or mouth. Beware of correct focusing. 6. High angle. Looks down on subject, minimizes subject's power. 7. Medium angle. Almost straight on eye level, subject has equal power. 8. Low angle. From below, camera located, to approximately 3 feet up, empowers subject. 9. Panning. Pan slowly to the right following a subject. Horizontal movement. Make sure your move starts and stops as a static, non-moving shot. 10. Tilting. Tilt up slowly to a specific object or person. Vertical movement. Make sure your move starts and stops as a static, non-moving shot. Film terms. Framing. What's included and excluded in an individual shot. Very long shot, wide shot. A shot in which figures appear small in the landscape, often used at the beginning of a film or sequence as an establishing shot to show where the action is taking place. Also used to make a figure appear small or isolated. Long shot. A shot in which a figure can be seen from head to toe. Mid shot. Shows the figure from approximately the waist to the head. In a mid shot, you can easily recognize an individual, but you can also see what they are doing with their hands. Medium close-up, from chest to head. Close-up, head and shoulders, enabling you to easily see facial expressions so you can see what characters are thinking and feeling. Big close-up, head only, used when expressions are important. Extreme close-up, from just above the eyebrows to just below the mouth or even closer, used to emphasize facial expressions or to make the subject appear threatening. Other useful terms for shots are two-shot, any shot with two people in it. Point of view shot, a shot from a character's point of view. Reaction shot, a shot showing a character's expression as they react to something. Noddy, a type of reaction shot used in interviews where we see the interviewer apparently reacting to the interviewee. Over-the-shoulder shot, a shot in which we see a character over another's shoulder, often used in interviews or dialogues. Lens. The type of lens and how it is used can make a big difference in the meaning of a shot. Wide-angle shot, taken with a wide-angle lens. This has the effect of seeming to exaggerate perspective. It's often used to make the viewer feel like they are close to the action. If it's used for close-ups, it makes the noise look bigger and the ears smaller, an effect usually used for comedy. Telephoto shot. Like using a telescope, a telephoto lens appears to bring the subject closer and flatten out perspective. It also usually reduces depth of field. Zoom lens. These can vary the angle of view from widening to telephoto so that the subject appears to move closer or further away without the camera itself moving. Depth of field. This means how much of the shot seems to be in focus, in front of and behind the subject. Deep focus. Everything in the shot appears to be in focus, which means that we can be looking at action taking place in the foreground, middle ground, and background. Shallow focus. Isolates the subject from the background. Camera position. Where the camera is in relation to the subject. Low angle shot. The camera points upwards, usually making the subject or setting seem grand or threatening. High angle shot. The camera looks down, making the subject look vulnerable or insignificant. Bird's eye view. Looks vertically down at the subject. Camera movements. Track. Moving the camera itself toward or away from the subject or to follow a moving subject. Not to be confused with the zoom, where the camera's lens is varied to give the impression of moving closer to or away from the subject. Pan. Pivoting the camera to the side to scan a scene or to follow a moving object. Whip pan, a sudden fast spin. Tilt, pivoting the camera vertically up or down. Arc, moving the camera in an arc around the subject. Crane shot, a shot where the camera itself moves up or down. Handheld shot, this is used to convey a sense of immediacy. Lighting, lighting can be high or low contrast and can vary in color and direction. High key. The lighting is bright and relatively low in contrast, often used for Hollywood musical comedies. Low key. Much more pronounced shadows and dramatic contrasts. Lighting from below. This can be used to make a subject appear threatening or horrific. Backlighting. Produces a halo effect around the edges of the subject. Color. Cold or bluish lighting can convey a sense of cold, alienation, or technology, while warm or yellowish lighting can be used to convey comfort, sunset, and so on. The colors are very rich and intense. If the colors are very rich and intense, they are described as saturated. Black and white or sepia can be used to show that a scene is set in the past or to suggest sophistication. mise en scene. This means the way in which objects, scenery, and the location are shown by using light and dark, pattern, color, camera position, and angle. The movements within the frame. Mise en scene establishes mood and atmosphere and can express the inner life of characters through in which their settings are depicted on screen. Editing, how the individual shots are put together. There are two main types of editing which you can encounter in mainstream film and TV programs. Continuity editing. The majority of film sequences are edited so the time seems to flow uninterrupted from shot to shot. Within a continuity editing sequence, only cuts will be used. Continuity editing can also involve cross-cutting, where a sequence cuts between two different settings where action is taking place at the same time. Montage. In montage, different images are assembled to build up an impression. This is often used in title sequences. The most famous example of this technique is the Odessa Steppe sequence from Battleship Potemkin. Editing can vary in pace, how long the individual shots stay on the screen for, and in the transitions between shots. Transitions describe the way in which one shot replaces the previous one. Cut. One image is suddenly replaced by another without a visible transition. Cross-dissolve. One image dissolves into another. This can be used to make a montage sequence, example the title sequence, flow smoothly. It can also be used in continuity editing to show that we have moved forward in time and space. Fade up. An image gradually fades in. Fade out. An image gradually fades out. Fades to and from black usually means that time has passed. Wipe. One image replaces another without dissolving, with the border between the images moving across or around the screen. Sound. Diegetic sound. Sound that we think is part of what's going on the screen. Horses' hooves, the sound of thunder, and so on, even though many of these will have been added later by a Foley artist. Non-diegetic sound. Sound that we know is not part of what's on screen, such as music, unless there's an orchestra in shot, and voiceover. Soundbridge. This uses sound to link two scenes by having the picture and the diegetic sound change at different points. Usually the sound from the second scene is heard before we start to see the picture from that. Video digital editing. Intro to rhythm and montage. 3 auteurs. Auteur noun. A filmmaker whose personal influence and artistic control over a movie are so great that the filmmaker is regarded as the author of the movie. It is said that there are always 3 versions of a movie. 1, the writers. This exists on paper. 2, the directors. This exists in his head and in his head only. 3, the editors. This exists in the editing suite. In most cases, it is the editor's version of the movie that the moviegoer sees. This, of course, is sometimes violated by the militant director, that being one who maintains such heavy-handed creative control over the project that his personality and the effect it has on the creation of the film overpowers that of the editors. Types of rhythm. Internal, movement of people and camera, inside the frame. External, length of shots and pace of the edit, outside the frame. The flow of editing is like the flow of a river, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, always winding and variant. Also think of editing as choreography. Choreography is the art of manipulating movement, phrasing its time, space, and energy into effective forms and structures. How long should a shot be on the screen? Only as long as it takes to communicate the information that needs to be communicated. A simpler answer, only as long as it takes. 1. Wider establishing shots are on longer. 2. Complex shots on longer. 3. Repetition shots on less. 4. Linked ideas on less. 5. Well-composed shots on less. Rule of third. 6. Close-ups on less. Hiding the edit. It is the responsibility of the editor in a purely conventional sense to hide the edit. If the editor does his job well, his work will be invisible to the viewer. Generally, the edit is hidden by a visual or auditory distraction. Distracting the eye or the ear allows a bit of sleight of hand, and that distraction gives us the ability to edit under the distraction. Invisible edits. Using techniques that distract the eye or the ear allows us to hide our edits. 1. Match cut. 2. Compositional interest. 3. Common shape cut. 4. Common color cut. 5. Continuity of sound. 6. Implied match cut. Visible edits. Some techniques can be used to draw attention to an edit intentionally or not. 1. Jump cut. 2. Drastic change of idea. 3. Change in color. 4. Auditory punctuation. 5. Violation of grammar conventions. 5 easy rules. Keep in mind these simple rules. Commit them to memory. They can help you in making editing decisions. Eventually, they will become second nature. 1. There should always be a good reason to cut. Every cut should be justifiable. 2. A new shot should always contain new information. 3. Obey the general rules and conventions of cinematic realism. 4. The better the edit, the less it is noticed. 5. Editing involves choosing shots, arranging them, and trimming them to length. Montage. Montage, noun. 1. The process or technique of selecting, editing, and piecing together separate sections of film to form a continuous whole. 2. A sequence of film resulting from this. Einstein's Soviet montage theory. Pioneering Russian filmmaker and film theorist Sergei Einstein, 1898 to 1948, defined montage as follows. In formal terms, this style of editing offers discontinuity in graphic qualities, violation of the 180-degree rule, and the creation of impossible spatial matches. It is not concerned with the depiction of a comprehensible spatial or temporal continuity, as is found in the classical Hollywood continuity system. It draws attention to temporal ellipses because changes between shots are obvious, less fluid, and non-seamless. Einstein's method of montage. Einstein describes 5 methods of montage in his introductory essay, Word and Image. 1. Metric, where the editing follows a specific number of frames based purely on the physical nature of time, cutting to the next shot no matter what is happening within the image. This montage is used to elicit the most basal and emotional of reactions in the audience. 2. Rhythmic, includes cutting based on continuity, creating visual continuity from edit to edit. 3. Tonal. A tonal montage uses the emotional meaning of the shots, not just manipulating the temporal length of the cuts or its rhythmic characteristics, to elicit a reaction from the audience even more complex than from the metric or rhythmic montage. For example, a sleeping baby would emote calmness and relaxation. 4. Associational. The associational montage is the culmination of metric, rhythmic, and tonal montage to synthesize its effect on the audience for an even more abstract and complicated effect. 5. Intellectual. Uses shots which, when combined, elicit an intellectual meaning. American montage. The use of montage in American cinema is vastly different than Einstein's theory. In American cinema, montage is primarily used to condense space, time, and information. Usually employed to show passage of time, and generally, but not always, does not carry any symbolic meaning. Video digital editing, more montage. Before you even start editing a sequence, it is imperative that you watch and log all of your media. This gets a bit more difficult on larger projects, but for the most part, logging your media is an unskippable step. So what is logging? Logging can mean different things to different people. It can also depend on your own unique workflow. Logging involves watching all of the media in the project and making notes about the media. Things you might note while logging. 1. Specific takes you might want to use to construct your story. 2. Beginning and ending time code. 3. People, places, things, or ideas relevant to your story. Paper cut. A paper cut is basically a list of shots written on paper in the order you are using them to construct your story. This can be unbelievably helpful in learning to put the pieces of a story together, especially when you are new to the craft. More on montages. Some things to consider when you are selecting and sequences your B-roll. 1. Organize your montages around a theme or subject. 2. Pay attention to editorial devices such as match cutting, eye lines, and where people in the frame are looking. 3. Every shot has to have a purpose. If a shot doesn't accomplish anything by being there, then it doesn't belong there. It is not enough to know which shots need to be included. You need to know why they need to be included. 4. Unify your montages with sound beds, ambient noise, or music. Good sound can be the glue that holds a montage together. 5. Perhaps above all, remember that your editing decisions need to serve the story, not your ego. Continuity editing. The dominant system of editing handed down from the Hollywood tradition is known as continuity editing. The cuts are invisible in to produce a seamless visual and narrative experience. Continuity editing involves such techniques as 1. Continuity editing relies upon matching screen direction, position, and temporal relations from shot to shot. 2. Motivated cuts. If a story is to be told, the cuts have to be seamless. This can be achieved by ensuring that the content motivates the cut. For example, if one hears a door open and a character turns his head, one expects to see a cut to the door. 3. The 180-degree rule. Two characters in the same scene must maintain the same left-right relationship throughout the scene. In other words, if in a particular shot character A is on the left facing right and character B is on the right facing left, you should keep the camera positioned so the characters stay facing the same direction. If the camera crosses the line between the characters and shoots them from the other side, one end up with a reverse cut where the characters' positions are switched. Even if you cut to a shot of character B alone, he should still be on the left facing right. While it's not essential that you follow the 180-degree rule, most directors do so in order to avoid disorienting the viewer. Number 4. Shot reverse shot structuring that obeys the 180-degree rule. Positioning an artificial line which the camera cannot cross, thereby creating an illusion of a unified space across shots. Number 5. Cuts on action, creating the illusion of continuous motion from one shot to the next. The reason behind this rule is that cutting on action distracts the audience less. People focus on the action occurring, not the cut, and thus are less likely to notice any mistakes like jump cuts. For example, if a woman turns her head to look at something, the cut to the object of interest should be made midway through the action of turning. 6. Eyeline match, in which the look of a character is matched spatially to what he or she is looking at. 7. Sound bridging, in which continuous music or sound is used to bridge the cuts between shots, among other techniques. Continuity editing versus montage. While the concepts of continuity editing are certainly important, having been the foundation of the cinematic experience for decades, the rules that govern the editing of the montage are more visceral or instinctive rather than rigid and finite. In montage, it is less important that you maintain continuity, per the list above, and more important that the shots and cuts in a montage connect on a deeper level. Whether they are comparative or collisional in nature, metric or analytical, or any combination thereof, the artistic use of a montage can generally be summed up using the following equation. 1 + 1 + 1 is greater than 3, meaning the sum of the shots has a greater meaning when they are juxtaposed upon one another. Making thematic and artistic connections between shots can heighten their meaning, and thus add greater subtext to the montage itself, and by extension the whole of the film. Types of montage relationships. Shots in a montage can be connected in any number of ways. Here are a few examples. 1. Shots can collectively tell an accelerated story, such as a child growing up or the quirky sports training montage. 2. Shots can be connected based on internal movement or kinetic energy. 3. Shots can be connected based on symbolic meaning, such as the color red in the 6th. Video digital editing. Introduction to sound. Cinematic sound. In cinema, sound can be organized into 3 categories. 1. Diegetic, predominantly dialogue, anything the characters hear in the story. 2. Non-diegetic, outside the story world, soundtrack and narration. 3. Meta-diegetic, subjective use of sound, sounds inside the character's head. Sound also exists on 3 levels: dialogue, sound effects, and score. Each of these are a critical element of the storytelling process. Each is an important aspect of the fabric that is woven to create the environment in which a story is told. While dialogue is generally the primary storytelling element of the 3, the use of sound effects and score, or the absence of these, helps to give texture, meaning, and subtext to a film. Sound effects. Sound effects, while generally thought of as an explosion, creaky doors, and footsteps, are often a much broader and deeper element of sound. Sound effects can certainly be used to make doors creakier and floors squeakier, but they can also be used to augment and help create reality by filling the holes in the auditory landscape. Score. Music is an integral part of a film. Music, be it orchestra, rock music, or whatever, can be used to achieve multiple ends. The most basic applications would be to fill in holes in the audio, but music can also be used to help push a story forward and even to aid in manipulating the emotional responses of your viewer.